In the courtroom, it's a circus. Only got the lions, prosecutors crooked, messy and frying. Innocent rappers, the tears like diamonds. Truth gets twisted, just like the Mayans. Panel keeps the real, drop knowledge bombs. Corruption on blast like Vietnam songs. Free the innocent, then commit the crimes. Justice served hot, with them in buzz. Show and survive, justice goes live. Spotlight on the truth, we cut through the lies. Corrupt gotta run, we see through the skies. For the innocent rappers, we rise. We rise.
Hey, oh, folks! It's Friday. It's Friday panel show. Still waiting for my panelists. But I couldn't wait much longer. So, go pester them. Ask them why they aren't here. Kat, Sylvia, Kayla, woohoo, and everybody else. Now, I have sent out all the invites, so I hope they will join here soon. While we wait for them, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and let's talk about this week. And with that saying, it's Kat.
Hello. I tried to be on time.
Yeah. What a week.
I almost made it.
What a week.
Yeah.
And first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you.
Oh, I'm happy to be. After everything that went on, you guys, like the Friday panel chat, Nick Starro, especially today, seeing Mungtung getting taken into custody.
Yeah. And the look on his face when he realized what's going on here. I have that lined up here.
5 years.
And
And he
reinstate.
will be continued on probation, Your Honor?
Yeah, and reinstate the balance.
Thank you.
Might I ask, is it possible for my client to turn himself in to make arrangements?
I think y'all knew when you came in here that this was a strong possibility. So, no.
And the way he just looks down at his attorney, that is the moment it sinks in. I mean, he's been a law-abiding citizen for 8 years. I mean, yes, he has a few convictions. He has done some awful things. But did he really deserve this? I don't think so. And now, first, the underlying issue here is that Georgia RICO allows stuff that has already been through the court system to be refiled as overt acts. He has paid his dues. He did his time. And then this trial showed up, and all of a sudden he's in prison. And it's not fair.
I was saying the way that Derek Wright was just looking forward.
Yeah.
And then making sure he was good to be released.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so sad for him, but also, I mean, he has an 8th grade education, and he still goes by. And he has trusted his attorney for the past 15 years. And then this. And I said it in my stream, I said it in your chat. His attorney failed him. He should have paid attention. And yes, I saw the comments about him being his attorney at the time of the plea hearing back in 2022. Well, he came out of hospital. Well,
Well, that goes to the pressure and duress of that moment, not right now.
exactly. And back then, yeah, but if you're directly out of hospital, are you really in condition to conduct such a hearing, or should you hand it over to somebody else? And then not, I mean, and from 2022 up until now, he's been advising his client that, oh, once we get to trial, you will be able to explain. So he followed his lawyer's advice. And it's unnerving for me, who practice law, to watch this go down. I mean, over the last 30 years, have I made mistakes? Of course I had. Nobody
This is a
goes,
pretty big one.
yeah, nobody goes through an entire career without making mistakes. But this, nowhere near. And I said that on my stream, that Sledge's best chance of avoiding prison was to fire his attorney and throw him under the bus. But he trusts his attorney, and now he's in prison.
Yeah, and I don't really understand the prospects for an appeal, like when there's an issue of like appealing this particular revocation.
I have to check, but I believe since Mr. Wright took the stand in trial and testified about him, you can argue he was a party opponent in this hearing because he gave bad advice to his client. But then again, Mr. Sledge, where he doesn't have the money to hire a new lawyer.
Yeah, like the idea of the process of like trying to find someone and start the process is a process in and of itself.
Yeah. And
with time constraints. So if you don't act on it right away, if you go into custody and you're upset about it, you're like, I'm just gonna block it out, and you let that time expire.
Yeah. So, but he has 30 days. Maybe this was the wake-up call he needed to understand that, wait a minute, I followed my attorney's advice and I'm going to prison. But can a new attorney help him?
I wonder what the attorney, like the attorney didn't tell him it was a possibility he could be taken into custody.
I don't know.
Like that didn't seem like the time to make the argument, like, Your Honor, can he at least have a chance to make arrangements? It didn't seem like the moment to think about that for the first time.
No, I agree. I mean, and Mr. Sledge seemed genuinely surprised.
No, I agree.
And I mean, he was dressed up for court. If you're expecting to go to prison, you don't wear
something that's a little tight shouldered and uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's not how you dress when you're expecting I might actually go to prison. I don't. Yeah, he seems genuinely surprised.
What do you make of the comparison to perjury?
I'm not entirely sure because it might have double meaning. When did the perjury occur? Was it back then or now? So I'm not entirely sure.
And I'm
right
not
as I
clear if Whitaker was making a statement that it occurred at a certain time either. I don't know.
Mm.
I think she was just saying generally they're obviously not compatible. So at some point something wasn't true.
Yeah. At the moment, I thought she meant at trial, but after hearing it a few times again, going through it, she doesn't actually say which one. And but then again, if she believes it was perjury, then it was on the advice of his attorney, who sat with him during that hearing and heard all. He heard
I
number
knew
8.
the background because he's always been the attorney, so he would know if something was contradictory to the initial plea. Like obviously he should, if he was a new attorney at the time of trial, he should have reviewed the plea agreement to make sure he was familiar. But he was the one that sat there for it through the plea hearing, the colloquy. He had the full background to be aware of something in the gray area would have been perjury, and didn't prevent him from that. So
Yeah. Oh, look, Valhalla is in the chat. Hey, Valhalla, I haven't seen you in a hot second. Well, I have actually, but not in this context. Ooh, I have to do a tiny promotion. Valhalla and Dave are doing this. They have this interviewing people while building Legos, which is extremely fun. And season finale, December 7th. They will do a build off. They will have the same Lego. And then they will invite in people who compete against each other for points. And I am one of them. So I will go up against a much larger channel, building a smaller Lego set. So that will be interesting. So December 7th. Yeah. Yeah. In the midst of everything horrible. Yeah. We are having a Lego build off on December 7th.
And speaking of December 7th, December 10th is a Steele appeal in front of the Georgia Appeals Court.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
good little week there.
Yeah, definitely. But let's go back to Mr. Sledge. There's not much more to say about it.
Well,
I mean,
kind of relevant. I pulled up Sumlin's documents. Like I tried to do it at the end of the Moontung stream, but didn't really look at them while I'm bad at multitasking on stream, so having 30 tabs open. But in if you want to look at it, here it is in the private chat, the drive link. His final disposition has that same language that was in the Gunna thing, the "you shall not commit no criminal acts."
Oh God.
So Sumlin, and then also he actually does have his right. He can assert his Fifth Amendment. So Sumlin, I thought Sumlin was kind of in a similar boat to.
Oh.
His is more similar to Martinez Arnold's, minus the "you shall not commit no crimes" making it through it there.
You shall not commit no criminal acts. So okay, now we know for sure they didn't make a one-time spelling mistake. This is somebody's template. This is what they actually write. You shall not commit no criminal acts, which in plain English means in order for you to fulfill your obligations, you have to commit criminal acts because it's a double negative. This is so stupid. It's embarrassing. I mean, these are people who went through school, high school, college, university, got a law degree, have worked with law for a certain number of years, and this. I mean, there are so.
I also love this like block of red bolded text, right? Because it's bolded, right? It's like the same. It's thicker. So they just make this ugly block.
Yeah, I mean, here you have the standard. I mean, everything in there, and then they fill in what they want with red. Negotiated with the red cross. So everything here is what that person actually writes. Well, why don't they? Is it who is Anton? Yeah. So this is Sean Hoover and Euro Glanville. I don't think this is Mr. Glanville's. This has to be the wordings of the prosecutor. But who this? Why don't they sign with the prosecutor's name on this? Is it just because it's sentencing, and it might be Euro Glanville, his wording? I don't know.
I don't know. They'll probably be like, "How did you miss it? It was in red. How
Yeah.
have you not committed crimes since this? You were told you had to commit crimes. How have you not committed any criminal acts? It was in red."
Yeah. I just realized I forgot my nicotine pouches because I have a habit. Don't do it, folks. So while I run off and do that, everybody, Catnot Williams.
Hello. Oh, and actually, I think I can, since I have back-end control panel here. Right, can I present and just make myself present? I think I can. Because this is someone's plea transcript, and unfortunately, I didn't realize that this wasn't searchable. So, I wanted to look at the acknowledgements and see what they were. You can see it doesn't let me highlight or search anything here. Okay, it's just going through. Have you gone over those acknowledgements? Okay, do they not read them in the plea?
Oh,
When I looked,
Catnot Williams realized she actually has backdoor access to my channel. To the channel. So she can run the show while I pour myself gin and tonic here.
So when I had looked for these documents, I didn't see an actual, like, a copy of the plea agreement to purchase. I only saw the final disposition and then the plea transcript. And I don't know. I don't really see them read into the record here. Okay, let's see if she reads them here.
Some people use a highball glass. I use a pint glass.
I love the sound of stuff pouring.
Oh, there's a lot of it in this household.
All right, do you have any formal reading? Oh, and guys, if you want the link on your own, this is the link to the plea hearing thing dropped in the chat. It looks like Nick is saying it, but it's me. Yeah, I don't think they read the acknowledgements into this. All right, they're recommending 15
Well,
years
it said a
probation.
bit up that he waived the reading of the.
So without the actual plea agreement document, I can't actually see the factual acknowledgements. So we might not know unless someone has a copy of it somewhere else. I didn't see it in the portal. So, well, that'll be interesting.
And for the question, can Sledge appeal? Yes, of course he can. Everything can be appealed.
Will he?
Even though the prosecution sometimes says this is not appealable, and Mr. Seal said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, they're just going through the motions here. So yeah, we won't know. We won't know, which kind of sucks.
If you guys have questions, you either do a super chat or the big red question marks before. That makes it easier to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
may
this
merchant
sucks.
take the appeal?
The other doc.
May merchant take the appeal on principle? That's hard because she's already representing both a lawyer in this trial and one of the co-defendants. So I don't think she can take Sledge's appeal since she is representing another co-defendant. So that might be yeah, she can't, more or less. Q said not on probation. Yep, but he's still an unindicted or indicted co-defendant, which could mean it's a conflict of interest for her to represent. And that has been an issue this entire case from when they got arrested in May of 2022. There simply wasn't enough attorneys in the state of Georgia. Some people, some of the defendants was in jail for over a year without even getting a bond hearing because they couldn't find an attorney that could represent them because they had conflict of interests or wouldn't take the $15,000 for the entire case, which it was originally.
I'll say, don't forget, we saw this morning the issue of the limited pool of available attorneys when Surijata Jimenez tried to stand in for Nichols, but there's a conflict of interest there because he's previously represented someone that was on the indictment. So they had to pause court and find somebody else to stand in.
Yeah, and might also have been a plan from the prosecution that first of all they indict half of Atlanta, then the first offer of payment to this private counsel for private public counsel, I believe it was $7,000 for the entirety of the case. There were few takers, so they upped it to $15,000 for the entirety of this case. Now, the only one who actually, well, there are a few, but Miss DeWilliams, she has paid $5,000 a month. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You gotta sit there and listen to Love all day.
Yeah. I mean, $5,000 is not chump change. But
it isn't,
remember,
but you have to spend, like, does she get bonus resources? Does she have to use some of that to get resources? Is it like a stipend?
No, she has to apply for additional resources.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that is also 9 hours of court, then before court and after court, and all the paperwork and everything is more or less out of pocket. And Mr. Williams takes home her client's clothes to wash them. And yeah, now I have had a few, two, asking how can I help, and I can only refer to her office if she still has it. I don't know if she still has an office, because $5,000 a month, yeah, that's not enough for paying rent, both home and an office. But I gave them her contact information. She, what was it? Was it the lead detective who advised one of the other female attorneys that for you to not go bankrupt, you might need to start an OnlyFans?
Well, listen, depending on which investigator it was, the chat might rejoice.
Yeah. Well, there is at least one who could make a fortune. Yeah, 60 grand a year to try a case the state is pouring millions into. Oh, by the way, for comparison, hello, Mr. Jingles. Yes, I see you. I see you. The Delphi case, Rick Allen is now being tried. It's calculated for a 6-week trial with experts and everything. The county has allocated $4.2 million for that case.
Why do they need so many resources when the judge just seems to give the state the open door to do anything they want?
Yeah, but it's all the surrounding costs with experts, with now they are sequestering the jury, But I do believe that for the 6 week, they have calculated with around 40,000 for the sequestering. And 4.2 for 6 weeks. And yeah.
Yeah, and this has been
Now
a
imagine
2022.
now imagine this case. I mean, I still say my $1 million a month estimation is quite close. What this is costing
And
the
don't forget all
Atlanta.
the extraneous costs of the time wasted on the first time they tried to indict. Like,
Yeah.
it goes before 2022.
Yeah, and most of this stuff in this indictment has already gone through the court system, so double up. And
It's just stupid.
yeah, it is infuriating. It is. Now, more positive notes. Dennis is out. That was so good. Oh, I felt so good seeing him jeeted. That
What a stupid. Why would they put a witness to testify to the things that he couldn't testify to today if they're trying to argue on Monday for reconsideration with what I think is now one of the most stupid arguments the state has filed in this case. We can't present this evidence anymore. You're not letting us present this evidence. And then you go on and demonstrate because you're not specifying what evidence you can no longer bring in, that you can only bring in through Dennis. Then you go and say, Your Honor, can you give us some leeway because this is stuff we need to bring in because we don't have Dennis anymore. And the judge is like, all right, you get some leeway.
then what's the punishment?
Like,
Then
what's the punishment and what's the point of this reconsideration? What are they even asking for?
Yeah. Now it still looks bad for the state, but all of a sudden I haven't seen all of today. I'm doing my recap tomorrow because didn't have time to do both the probation revocation hearing, this and the recap. So I'm doing the recap
we need
tomorrow.
3 more Nicks.
Yeah, I need more of me, or I need to do this full time, and I'm nowhere near being able to do this full time. Hey, Steven.
Oh yeah, let's go with this question. Dennis the Menace is great too.
If the state can ask for reconsideration for Dennis the Menace, Derek could ask for reconsideration of the revocation, right? 2 different cases, sadly.
Yeah, and I don't think Derek would do
ask.
That. I don't think Derek Wright would make the effort.
Nah. I think Derek Wright went home, and now he's out spending the weekend with his family, and then on Monday it's back to business as usual with other clients. So while it seems like Mr. Sledge have had confidence in his attorney for the last 15 years, who is allegedly some kind of friend to the family, Mr. Wright has to pay his bills. And so he's on to the next case and the next clients, and Mr. Sledge is in prison.
Mr. Jingles is going bananas back there.
Oh, hello. Look, I have a joke about...
This is the Magic City footage that we had stricken from the record. We're getting it all over again. And guys, you might not have gotten to that. So my opinion on this new witness is the jury didn't actually forget that Dennis just was on the stand yesterday. So to have yet another expert, in a way, I think it's bolstering. It's bolstering the testimony that's going to have to be repeated. And secondly, they're going to go through this Magic City stuff again. That's the note we ended on today. And Whitaker is like, hold on, we've got other stuff to do at 4 and a juror has to leave. So let's break today. And we're going to start Monday with Magic City. Magic City Mondays, you guys.
Yeah. But there was one thing, I saw it on Twitter. I'm not entirely sure but the timeline thing. It's the second time they do the exact verbatim timeline thing.
It is different, and I keep seeing this. It is different because what Dennis was doing, and Dennis did go through the groupings and these houses on the 28th of April, and these are the names associated with those properties. But the difference is they're tying in the potential NIBIN hits. So that's the first time we had that like summary conjoining the two sides of testimony. So
somehow,
it is different. It is
yeah,
not technically cumulative for those things.
yeah. Somehow, I suspect it is his material she is using.
It sounds like she went over the Operation Planters PowerPoint and
Mm.
reviewed whatever she had to do. Like Hilton sat there and showed these Magic City clips to her today, this morning, or last night. So,
Yeah,
and I mean, they qualified her as an expert for that reason. So she doesn't actually need to be the one who did the investigation.
yeah. Self-bolstering by having the same person doing fact testimony and expert testimony. I've checked with a few attorney friends who think that is wild. But the actual case law that says they can't is lacking. It's just that it seems like few, if any, have ever even tried to do it. Have a fact witness act as an expert witness during the direct examination. So I'm wondering if that is something that an appeals court have to bring up de novo.
And summary witness.
Yeah.
You have Dennis was all three at a point, because there were things where he was not a fact witness to, and there were things that he was not testifying as an expert. At least they didn't instruct the jury for the part of it, but he was summarizing business records from somewhere else. And honestly, Sprinkle was a little bit with that today, and the judge did sustain some objections as far as Adam Abadi started asking some questions that would need to have been completed as an expert, Agent Bernie, that weren't done. So there wasn't a way that Michael Sprinkle could just extrapolate on the fly. He had to work from the records themselves. And the judge did sustain that. But with Dennis, he's been a fact expert and summary witness.
Yeah. Hold on. Again? Did they do the drawback hearing in front of jury again?
Yes. For Underwood. And then they approached at the bench. They came back. Hilton started asking the questions. And then they objected. And Hilton blurted right away. She started saying, "Your Honor, I move to admit this expert as an expert. I mean, this witness as an expert in like gang science." She said like 3 things. So they did the Jobert hearing, approached about something, continued questioning, and then realized they never actually moved to qualify on the record Underwood as an expert witness. And it was just like, my bad.
This this has happened with 2 judges, so that means in Georgia you're allowed to have a Daubert hearing in front of the jury, which is wild.
So bolstering.
Because the Daubert hearing is the defense where they can go hard on a supposed expert with hard questions, with questions that might implicate their client in something, naming situations. I mean, and now they're hindered,
right?
Yeah, and now they're hindered to it. So I remember I told Steve Gosney, Florida-based death penalty certified appeal attorney, so a real big shot, and he just
Stunned.
no, you don't do that. But in Georgia, apparently, you can. I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah, and this is true too. The defense didn't get to question her.
So they didn't get to cross-examine her supposed expertise. They just, here's some questions and let's move with it.
You'll see when you do your recap tomorrow.
Yeah.
I
can't wait.
Because it's going to be like a sidebar, and they'll come back, and when they do the sidebars, it's unclear. Like, hey, do we just not? Maybe we just want to limit her from talking about a particular subject matter or something like that. You don't really actually know. But then they come back, and then they continue the questioning, and then like, oh yeah, we got to qualify you. Hee hee hoo ha. Like, where's the procedure and process? Speaking of having respect for the court system and the process. There like is no process to this stuff sometimes. It's just the
No.
state tries to do something. If the defense objects to it, the judge goes, overruled, and then just lets them keep going.
Wow. Yeah.
And again, I do think there were some cumulative objections made by the defense that weren't valid, that were properly overruled this morning with Sprinkle, because Sprinkle was giving new testimony also combining NIBIN and other evidence, like the photos and videos. But then there were other things that were actually cumulative that Whitaker isn't here for. She doesn't know that it's cumulative because she doesn't remember the last time that Gaither was on the stand. Steele was trying to use Sprinkle to impeach Gaither today. And, or maybe it's the other way around. There was like an asked and answered objection, or no, he was trying to ask about something that was already in evidence. Adam Abate said, no, it isn't, because he wouldn't know either. And Steele's like, it was. And I think someone else voiced that it was admitted when Gaither was on the stand before. And Whitaker herself said, no, it wasn't. Because in her brain, Whitaker's only been on the stand the time that she came back when Whitaker was presiding.
Yeah.
And Whitaker was like, no, it wasn't admitted during her testimony. Well, you don't remember the other time Gaither was on the stand in this trial.
Yeah.
And Steele just moved on.
Yeah. And as Mr. Harvey pointed out when she took the chair, there is no way you can make correct rulings if you either weren't here or don't take the time to read up on everything. And in this case, I would argue that is an unforced error. But then again, appeals are for losers. There are so few cases that are won on appeal. It's less than 1%, folks. Less than 1%.
Can you imagine if there's appeal in this case and the Georgia Appeals Court comes back with a ruling that lists like 40 reasons why they're overturning the verdict, the decision? They go for this reason and this reason and this reason and this reason.
Yeah.
The reasons as follows, and the scroll just unrolls.
Yeah, but the danger is also that they only list 4 or 5 and not the rest. That is, remember that other judge who was recused, Peterson? What was it? Wasn't it Peterson? Yeah. They listed 12 reasons out of 30. And the rest weren't even addressed. In this case, you have 47 now motions of mistrial. If they go by the 4 main ones and says, yeah, this is enough, and they don't mention the others, then there's no precedent about the others if they don't even mention it.
And I think some of the interesting questions of law could really be these evidentiary issues with the lyrics, and that would go that those initial motions were before trial even started. So some of this stuff that could be an appeal issue could be before we even got to day one.
Yeah.
Which just think of the volume.
Yeah. And I remember early December 2023, the Georgia Supreme Court addressed some things about video as music evidence, but not in particular did they address the interpretation of lyrics. Just it was so long ago, I don't remember it.
It was like the implication of showing the music video with the co-defendant as a featured artist in the music video or something like that. Like there was a bit of like a specific this and that in it.
So they already have addressed some of it, the Georgia Supreme Court. But I see so much with this that should go all the way up, because the interpretation of RICO has gotten out of hand. In the early days, when they said the boss of the mob is guilty of the henchman's crimes. Yeah, but at that point, it was crimes that wasn't just overt acts that the henchman has already been convicted of. These were newly found crimes that the court had to address at the same time. So they were what do you call it? Contemporaneous crimes. But here you have crimes that has already gone through the court system once before. So they are just circumventing the double jeopardy.
I also think there's kind of a conundrum where, say different co-defendants only get convicted of count one and their sentence is only the sentencing decided for based off count one. I think there's an issue too of, all right, well, one trial happened first. I think there's just a fundamental unfairness if in the end multiple co-defendants only get convicted of the same single charge, but one had their trial first and that other person, I mean, how are they, sometimes they don't actually give credit for time served. They could be sentenced differently because they're in a different trial with a different judge.
Yeah.
And like what's the buffer to keep that fair when there's severed co-defendants?
I don't know.
And just hypothetically, if you have one defendant in one trial that's occurring now and another co-defendant in a severed trial happening 3 years later, 3 years after that person, neither of them have priors, but they both get convicted of a count that carries out, like, let's just say a max sentence of 15 years. What if the judge, no priors for either of them, they have the same exact history, criminal record, same conviction, but in the different trials, they want to sentence the one who's already been held waiting for the longer trial. They want to give them like 7.5 years, and they only credit them for the time served. But they only want to give this person 3 years, give them the time served, and then they're done already. Like, isn't there just an imbalance on the?
Well, then you have something that is called they can appeal the sentence itself by referring
and make the
to
argument.
Yeah. Well, if the first one have served its shorter sentence, then the second one who might get a longer sentence can appeal based on that shorter. If it is the other way around, that the first one got a longer and the second one and served its time, then it's just
Well, and I guess that might be the worst scenario, because by the time the second one would get the shorter sentence, person one, but with the time served through the end of the second trial, probably already spent that time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like, those are just like stupid logistical questions of like dealing with a monster like this.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I mean, as Nikki Shiver says here, if you want change in Georgia, sadly, but I'm not taking, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. In this case, I don't give two shits on a straw. These people needs to get voted out. And then we will see what the next one does.
Just keep voting everybody out. Just rebel against incumbents until someone's actually doing a good job. Rotate the party every year, make them scramble. Imagine if we could like just secretly do that as a group. Make each party wonder why they can't get the glue to stick. Like, everybody's got to be on their tippy toes because we disrupt the cushiness of being an incumbent.
Yeah.
Because I think that's too cushy. I think it's always just too cushy for an incumbent.
Now, I don't have much experience because over this side of the pond, we don't elect prosecutors. They are hired based on, well, in theory at least, they are hired based on what they actually can do. While in the United States, you even vote. I've seen examples of chief medical examiners being voted on. What? That's it.
Like, how does I wouldn't want myself to vote on who I think would be a better chief medical examiner.
Yeah.
Like, how would I know who to vote for?
Yeah.
I mean, if you tell me like one person's like creating like Frankenstein experiment, maybe that would convince me a little more. Maybe that would sway me in favor. But like, maybe if there was something extreme, I'd be like, all right, I'll just choose the other person. But like, how do you vote on something like that? How do you get the general population to appropriately vote on a position like that?
I don't know. But for me, it's wild that you vote. We don't vote on judges. We vote on politicians who make the overall decision, but the rest are bureaucrats. A judge here is a bureaucrat, and what they do is, okay, that's the law, and here is how I can apply it. And if they go way out of bounds, you get to the higher court and the Supreme Court, and then they might say, well, we can only rule this way because the law is flawed, and then it goes back to the lawmakers to make adjustments to that law so it makes more sense after the intent of what they had. But that takes like a decade before that's rolled around. But then
it's
again,
such a slow roll
mm,
to change anything. Well, and
mm,
like the example you gave earlier, there's just no sample size of case law because it's never really been an issue for, something
yeah,
with the RICO statute and gang prosecutions and qualification of the expert witness. So it's like the only way that problems can be prevented is if you
mm,
allow a problem and let the time play out for it to be appealed
yeah,
and decided on by an appeals court.
mm,
Like that's kind of
yeah.
to
It's
need a
almost
problem to
mm,
solve the problem in the future is kind of a fly trap, sticky
yeah.
fly trap.
I mean, off the fly. I mean, if a certain say behavior, as in this trial, with let's say Dennis was kept on for some odd reason. Subliminal messaging is how he determined. I mean, at some point, an objection that is denied, that is a de novo, has to be checked with a higher court before, if there is such a contention on de novo. Then de novo means brand new situation that has never been ruled on before on a higher court or even in a lower court. Yeah, it takes time, but I rather see stuff take time than and get it right than get it wrong. A person is a decade in prison before they say, "Oh, whoopsie."
I think it's incredible, like the amount of continuing objections, the amount
Yeah.
of times that asking for a certificate of immediate review. Like usually you can get through trials and never have to have an issue where that request would even be relevant. And here
Mm.
you have several instances of requests for certificates of immediate review. All these like how many continuing objections exist in this trial? And that's not unusual. You hear about those in different
Mm.
trials. But it's just like
It must
the
be
defense is
how.
constantly done arguing because
Mm.
the judge doesn't have case law to rule one way or the other on something.
It must be thousands.
Especially if they're all adopting it like 6 times across the board.
Yeah. I'm just writing something here. Oh, hello, Mr. Jingles. No, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that we have been here for 50 minutes and no new members.
Nobody wants to be part of our gang anymore.
No, I mean, folks, you have Mr. Jingles Viking Thugs and the K&W gang. Where are you? Nah, just kidding. I mean, first of all, I need to thank the viewers and the chat and everything, because this last month you have been extremely generous to both of us. Her more than me. But
And I'm extremely grateful
yeah.
because I'm like, is this going to be worth trying? Because I didn't want to do this. I wanted to cover the weeks where they do the evidentiary hearings. I love that stuff. I love the court arguments. I love motions. I love words. I love words. And I was like, I don't know if I can keep committing to doing that, you guys,
Yeah.
long term, and then just did, and it's worked out. But I had a concern balancing it with work I have to do for my clients, and I'm not sleeping very much, but you guys are making it agreeable for
Yeah.
me to do, and
Yeah, I mean,
it's been fun. I enjoy this. So
yeah, it's you guys who makes this worth it. Because, I mean, we both have spent a considerable amount of time in the trenches with just a few hundred views per stream, and then stuff blew up. And yeah, now I can say, because I think it was the week or 2 weeks before the Glanville situation and Woody, where I said, I need to take a 3-week break and cover another trial, because this, I mean, the 2 months leading up to the Glanville situation, it was so boring.
well, and there were things that were like some of that, I wasn't watching. I was a chat lurker, so me being upset and ranting and raving about it was like with you, or sometimes through Cuff Boys, through those shorter recaps. And there were things that were really. I mean, Dennis was in that 2-month block.
Yeah.
DK was in that same block, so you got to get frustrated about his plea deal. You have the character evidence come in through the Thomases, which I thought was ridiculous. I am so against anything that should be reserved for sentencing for victim impact statements from being admissible during trial. I think that's extremely prejudicial and inflammatory.
Yeah.
And way more than probative, because when a family member is expressing what they think happened, a family member usually isn't right about what their other family member was doing. They look at it all through the lens of how I think of my own child or my sister or my mom. Like, you have your lens for it. So there's a reason that a lot of that stuff is supposed to be limited to a victim impact statement. But Donovan Thomas's parents get to take the stand. And I mean, no disrespect to them for having the right to grieve and feel how they feel. But for certain testimony to be allowed during the guilt phase of a trial is just infuriating to me. So that was part of that 2-month period. It was boring, but it was infuriating.
Yeah. And one of the things that speaks to my theory of the prosecution making stuff up as they go along, during that time, Donovan Thomas was portrayed as a model citizen. Then stuff
He
changed.
was loved.
Yeah, then stuff changed, and all of a sudden, he was a member of a rival gang, a top member of a rival gang. Wait a minute, what happened here? Oh, by the way, thank you. Stephen, one gifted membership. April O'Neill's baby daddy. Yeah, that's such a great name. Gifted one membership. Red Bunny became a member. Susie Q became a member.
The gang is growing.
Yeah! And Stephen gifted another one. That gets us to 5. Thank you. Yeah. And again,
Limeronis.
And I mean, Judge Whittaker has acknowledged this, that it seems like you're making stuff up as you go along. Because even though they were forced to, this is the evidence that we are tuning into that witness, they are still bringing in evidence they haven't proffered yet. They haven't litigated yet. And Whittaker keeps saying, you should have done this a long time ago. And there has always been an opportunity to litigate, just that they didn't.
And speaking of the Donovan Thomas, he was loved. Donovan Thomas Jr., he was loved. That little hot mic utterance from Love when Whittaker was presiding and they were trying to go through that PowerPoint. I think Glanville said he was going to keep that PowerPoint out just out of frustration with Love for other issues. It wasn't actually on the basis of weighing the value or the relevance or the actual admissibility of this PowerPoint. He was going to rule it out because she pissed him off that day.
Yeah.
But when Whittaker was revisiting, we get to that slide with all the funeral pictures and like...
Yeah, and I rewatched Glanville's walkout, or bring in the jury so Miss Love shuts the F up. I believe his actual ruling was it's out.
Yeah, I think it was out too. My point is, I think his decision to actually exclude things was less on the meritorious reasons of why
Yeah.
it should have been validly excluded, and more because in this moment I'm just done with you, Miss Love. Like, you
Yeah.
piss me off, you're taking too
Mm.
long, you're disrespecting the jury's time, and this is
Mm.
out.
Yeah. And that was his sanction, just as Whitaker sanctioned Dennis. But the actual ruling, once it was ruled on, it wasn't ruled as a sanction. If it was a sanction for not presenting evidence to the defense in due time, which he had ordered long before that, and they still didn't, then it would be another situation. But
So
George Glanville, yeah. As a non-practicing lawyer, this case is amazingly amusing. Yeah, some of it is.
It's like a car crash. It's like the
Yeah.
rubbernecking when you see an accident on the side of the road. Like, it's just
Yeah, it's not even gallows humor. It is.
how humor. How is this happening? Humor.
Yeah, how
that
is
a
this
genre?
happening? I don't know if that's a genre.
Or do you know that there's a Reddit called like DIY, like do it yourself, but the Y is like Y question mark? And that, I guess that is kind of like a genre of humor. If you ever want anything entertaining, you can look at the top post on DIY. It's a great. Oh wait, they disabled DIY? Did I type it wrong?
What was the deal with Steele asking about the 911 call with Dolly today? I don't know. I haven't seen it. I have no clue. You should tune in tomorrow at around 9 or 10 a.m. for my recap, and I might give you an answer.
I can't wait because I rely on you to fill in gaps for me. My guess there is Steele's just going to try with a different witness and Sprinkle. He's got someone else lined up. He can, instead of fighting the issue, because he didn't argue to push it. And if this was the only witness and it's a significant thing, I think he would have raised a counter argument.
Yeah, but I constantly see the defense setting up for future testimony, where some questions I see why did they stop cross-examining now? And my interpretation is they are setting something up. They are planning months ahead. Now, I do know that Judge Whitaker said yesterday that she hoped that the state would conclude before Christmas break. Yeah, that's not happening. That was a clear suggestion from her. I don't see the state's case in chief concluding before February. I really don't.
Either.
Because now they have to train a new expert in what Detective Dennis would have argued or would have testified to.
Oh no.
And I mean, all of the state's experts are former employees in the gang unit. And
Well, the Underwood is employed still. She's still there.
She is. Oh, really?
And what I think is interesting about her is she kind of looks like a TV or movie detective.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad thing. Because people trust people.
Jury will like it. They look familiar.
Yeah. Okay, but they were still employed at the time where allegedly several people in the gang unit were under investigation for being on the take. And now that has been kept out so far from this trial. But, I mean, they worked closely together. I mean, yeah. And seeing the low quality of the so far, I mean, yeah, a few are genuinely good cops, but most, how are these people not in jail?
Well, then you
It's
have like it just seems like issues all around. You've got like the Christian Eppinger with the bailiff story and
yeah.
like just like little layers of the dramatic. What are
Mm.
we doing? What's going
Yeah,
on all around?
and wasn't that Judge Whittaker's bailiff or
No, it was Shakira Ingram's.
oh, so it was Ingram's. Yeah,
That's
that
why
was
she
in that.
recused
Yeah,
from
that's
the
why she
recusal
recused
motion.
herself because her employees slept with defendants. Or
She was probably like, "Yes, I have a way out."
yeah, definitely. But yes, I don't need this Foster clock. YRSL. Oh, my guess is follow the money because the state could steal money from Williams. Yeah, but I mean, this big theft here is from the Georgia, from Fulton County taxpayers. I mean, what they took from Mr. Williams was maybe a couple of million worth of stuff. And what they have done for their taxpayers, we are talking, they have been going on for May of 2022. So yeah, 2.5 years. And yeah,
And think of all the time they had to like think of the hours that Michael Sprinkle has spent with his half investigator, half ADA work for this case.
oh,
Did you watch that when they asked him about whether he considers himself like a detective? And he was like, yeah, but not like literally, but yeah, pretty much. In the most Sprinkle answer ever.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that a couple of days ago, right?
No, that
Something.
was today.
Oh, then I didn't.
Yeah, they asked him,
Mm.
oh my god, he was just like, hee hee, yeah, that's me.
Calvin asks, is there a RICO on the so-called rival gangs? Not to my knowledge. I mean,
I think there's been a few of them
YNF have their
like,
own, yeah, have their own case with YNW and Melly. But I don't know the If gang. I don't think so because they are more or less trying all gangs under YSL because YSL, the music brand, had both
this
Bloods and Crips in it.
super hybrid gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been charges against people that are alleged to be associates of YFN, but there is no like RICO for YFN. So
hello, Mr. Jingles.
it kind of seems like the smarter way to maybe also approach whoever you think committed crimes that you're now prosecuting under this big RICO. Well, you kind of did for some of them. You kind of already did go through that process.
Yeah. Everybody is an unindicted co-conspirator in this case.
Unless all of us and the new members, today's new members, official unindicted co-conspirators.
Yeah, but there is a way to get out of it. And hold on while I actually get it.
Wait, a way to get out of?
Yes, of course.
Being in. Oh, just not. This is the shirt that Woody wore to those interviews.
No, I don't claim copyright, but if you want to support my channel, and you can buy the T-shirt for $25, or you can just write it and make your own T-shirts. Because I have this unattainable dream that 50,000 people in Atlanta wears this T-shirt. Just walking around, just to be on the safe side.
Uber, your Uber driver might be wearing this shirt.
Yes, the Uber driver who, out of nowhere, talks RICO. Oh, that letter from Fani Willis was so embarrassing because it was so apparent that she just made that up.
I'll say in the chat, I see the chat say YFN was a federal RICO. That would make sense why I didn't see that in like indictments that I pulled up through the Fulton County site. So.
Oh, that Casper, stop making sense. Not unindicted could mean indicted. Oh, darn it, I made a double negative.
But that doesn't make sense because I thought that was actually. Are we talking about like a Bloods RICO?
The what?
Like a RICO against members or alleged associates with the Bloods? Because the difference in the conversation here is whether or not they're going after YFN and calling that a gang in the same way they're calling YSL a gang.
No, whatever. That is just against Melly. That's a trial in itself, and that's
YFN like Lucci.
Okay, YFN. What? Yeah. To my knowledge, there might be an investigation going on, or there might not be against individuals in all gangs. But currently, I have not even heard rumors about another gang RICO. If gang. But here's the thing. When you have everybody under the YSL umbrella, if they find these one or a few or all of them guilty, will they go after more people as co-defendants? Then, yeah, they might.
I gotta double check because I thought they tried to like insinuate that YFN was a like gang umbrella name, but then they ended up not. That didn't stick for Lucci. They just gave him like the participation in criminal street gang.
Yeah.
More broadly. Let me find.
Yeah, he had 13 counts, and it boiled down to one count of gang activity, I believe, and he got 12 years. Something of that.
Yeah, so they just end up abandoning the whole theory that there's a.
Yeah.
Which to me suggests that they weren't going to be able to move forward and say that YFN was any sort of glue to do the same thing that they're trying to do with song lyrics about YSL being a gang and not just a label.
Or they simply couldn't afford more than one, and they chose this one. I don't know. It's all about the money, folks. And if you can hire your boyfriend and go to Aruba, yeah. And for you who are completely new here and don't know about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, Fani Willis had a relationship with Nathan Wade. Nathan Wade was a married man. Now, he was in divorce proceedings in which Fani Willis helped him by allegedly lying in court documents about their relationship. And then she lied in church about it. But I have allegedly genuine images from their trip to Aruba.
That's one of my favorite things you have on your channel. It caught me so off guard the first time you did it.
My Photoshop skills are unprecedented. It's almost seamless.
Almost seamless. Wait, what do you mean? My Photoshop skills are unprecedented? What does that mean? Unmatched.
Yeah, unmatched. I'm not saying in what direction. It's just unmatched.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like I got a picture from the DA's office having a meeting on how to connect everything to YSL. This is how it went down. Again, my alleged Photoshop skills are unmatched.
I love it.
It's so stupid. I'm having way too much fun with this. I'm having way too much fun with this. Ah. It's just like with Suno.com and making AI music. I'm having way too much fun with it. Let me see. Didn't I make something else?
All right, hold on. I'm going to share something.
Oh,
This is the indictment, the RICO indictment for YFN. Now, if you've never looked at the indictment for YSL, I'm going to actually flip over to that and just scroll a little bit first. We flip over to the one for YSL. Look at the left-hand column and look how far we go. Look how far we go. All these names. Lots of names. Lots of names. But if we come over here, this is the entirety of this indictment. And the font's a little smaller. So, and we have a higher margin here. We have Bloody J, Justin Urshery, DeMonte Thomas, B-Gang, Artez Carter, a.k.a. Tez, Reginald Carter, Lil Blood, Tadrikus Glass, Ty, Malik Stanley, or Leak, Victor Meadows, Bop, interesting nickname, Rayshawn Bennett, Lucci, Rayvon Boyd, CP3, Leroy Pitts, Liddy, Rondarius Hawkins, Nard, another Nard, that's the other Nard, Derek Adams, Drip. So these are the names that are part of this indictment that's supposed to be against Bloods in Atlanta as
so
part
if
of the
the
sub-gang.
if you combine the first name and the last name, you get Bloody J Drip. And that is according to this prosecution. That
There's
means
also this in YSL.
yeah.
So how's their rival gang?
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, let me share this Google Drive link here. If you guys want to look at it, it's going to look like it's shared by Nick. This is me talking in the chat.
Nem asks, does somebody know why they can force immunity on someone not charged or indicted and can't for someone with a deal like Martinez? There seems to be a contention about Martinez if they can or cannot force him into an immunity deal. It seems like Ashley Merchant says they can't because it is in his plea agreement that he is still allowed to plead the fifth. And but someone who's not charged, yeah, they can force immunity because apparently, according to Georgia statute, a simple piece of paper only valid in that county or in Georgia, depending on how you write it, removes the entirety of your Fifth Amendment protection. Again, something I find baffling. Because according to, so as Ms. Merchant pointed out, in RICO, they can recharge, even though it was handled by a court, just as an overt act, not as a criminal act.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
So one of my issues with this whole, everything's an umbrella, and then there's hybrid gangs, and then there's subsets, but when you argue that the defendants were associated with one or more,
yeah,
and you're not sure if they're doing something in furtherance of YFN or a different subset. Like, first of all, that's just problematic to me in general because you don't actually know what your argument is. But two, couldn't you technically charge someone twice for doing something in furtherance of both gangs they're a part of? Like, what if there was a separate RICO for ABG and a separate RICO for YFN, and the state's theory is that somebody's part of two? Because they say some of these defendants are part of one or more. Some are part of multiple.
Yeah.
So could that person not be charged with doing something in furtherance of both? Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah, but here's the thing when it comes to if that would be different trials. And as an example, you remember a few months ago, you had a trial against the parents of a school shooter, and they were convicted. The state in the trial against the shooter argued that he alone was responsible.
A different argument, different trial. Yeah.
And it's a different argument in a different trial. So yes, they can be hypocrites because it's different trials. No, I saw one more from Nem.
Well,
I know
don't think
Merchant
it would
disagree, but I
be-
don't see why they can do it on Woody with the immunity. Well, that's the immunity deal. It's up. Yeah, you can force immunity. That's apparently how you do it in Georgia. And apparently they can do it more or less in the entirety of the United States. They can force you on immunity. I think it's crap, but yeah, I can't. Ashley Jones had a question. What if the YSL trial gets mistried with prejudice? What happens to Sledge? He is still in prison. It's a separate issue. Same with the plea deals. Separate issue. They already pled guilty. So if YSL gets mistried with prejudice, their conviction still stands. Even if everybody walks out of this trial, the plea deal stands. And so does Sledge. It doesn't seem right, but welcome to law. Sometimes what is morally just and judicially just aren't the same thing.
And really, sometimes things can be just in one situation and then not just in another. Same words on a paper. So.
Oh. And it's infuriating. It is so infuriating. Next subject. We have to talk about Ashley Merchant because she is causing problems for the prosecution. And was it yesterday or today? Adam
16th, right? Was the letter.
Yeah,
and Adam yesterday said she was lying.
Yeah. That's not a good choice of words. Well, he didn't say lying, but mistaken by, well, every word other than she's lying, Judge. Yeah.
I don't think the judge agrees with Adam on that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But more about yeah, folks, a man with words, and he's not afraid to say them. Everybody,
I'm good.
I was like, spoiler alert over here. I'm like waving at nobody on the screen.
How y'all doing?
It became instantly better now. Instantly better. How are you
instantly
doing?
Better. Man, that's a lot of pressure you just put on me. I hope I can deliver with my sonorous voice now.
Oh
my goodness, what a day, right?
Every day.
It went from sunshine to rain instantaneously. I said, "Oh my!"
Bad.
Right? Wasn't that a moment for everybody?
I just think it's stupid. They don't chase everybody like that. They don't chase everybody like that. And this, I think, was to stick a message. So if you want to say technically he violated the special conditions of the plea, all right, cool. But then keep it. Other people don't get revocation hearings this way. But the state rushed down there for this one, in my opinion.
They had to. They had to. When the bully gets bullied and calls for reinforcement, it's always bad.
Yeah.
It is always freaking bad because I'm going to be fair, and some people won't like this, but Monto, he celebrated way too early. He had shirts that was said, "I'm not your child," and you hanging around people that you should not be hanging around with. You showed your rear in multiple ways, and I get everybody as far as Twitter space goes and YouTube commenters, how they are essentially pointing towards everything with Paige, I'm gonna be fair. She absolutely spared that man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He committed perjury. He did. And she said, it's 10 years. She skipped over that.
Mm.
She
Yeah.
100% skipped over that in his plea deal. Basically, he was supposed to come in there and be Sammy the Bull.
Mm.
That's as
Yeah.
his plea deal is set up. So, I mean, she could have went for the... He really could have got 30 years in the penitentiary today. Over
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
And the fact that she didn't do that and she took a shot at love, I don't think that when she said the justice system, essentially, y'all need to stop playing with the justice system, was meant for Motung. I think that was meant towards Love, because about 5 seconds before that, Miss Love had smirked.
Yeah.
I
And
thought her body
yeah.
language was like, ugh.
Yeah. And
That's
we-
all I've
we-
got.
Spoiled child.
Yeah. And at the time when she said perjury, I assumed it was during the trial. Watching back on it, I'm not, it could be either or. When did he perjure himself? Was it during the plea deal or the trial? So it could be either or. And
Right.
and so yeah, I don't, but her hands were tied. She had to, because you can't let a person, 5 years is still hard, but compared to what he could have gotten, and still the underlying issue is the RICO, that he could be recharged with stuff that has already been through the court system. But his attorney should have had recused himself, because he did bad advice. And
I mean, you know, I agree. You know, I went full throttle on that freaking on that judge. I mean, on the lawyer. His lawyer was trash.
Yeah.
Flat out. Straight trash. Straight wet garbage. No, straight to the furnace. Trash. You can't recycle this. None of this stuff. Like, that's trash. And to the people in the chat, I want to tell this to y'all. I'm the one who told me to go to hell. Let me help you out. Do you realize that Moontoon was hanging out with Woody when he wasn't supposed to? Do you
Yeah.
realize that judge could have went
And that's a
on
term,
every...
guys. That's a term of pleas and probation. You're not supposed to be in contact. Isn't that one of the reasons Greer Unfunk messed up too? Or
No, he had
part
a
of
gun
it?
on him. He got caught with a gun
He got caught.
at a gas station and
Well,
literally
another
told on
term.
himself. Yeah, he literally said, and he shouldn't have said it. He said, before the cop even said anything, that gun is registered. You were supposed to let the police find the gun and say, I had no idea about it. That's how they screwed him over ultimately, because you acknowledged there was a gun in there before anybody else did. That's where you messed up at.
Yeah. I mean, most of us are probably going to hell. Let's just acknowledge that. We are all sinners. We are all sinners. But my level of hell will not be at Miss Love's level of hell. I might be a supervisor of her hell. But going back to Mr. Wright, the only recourse Sledge had to not be sent to prison was to throw his attorney under the bus, and he chose to keep him.
And he should have. He 100% should have.
Yeah, and even I ethically, that Mr. Wright should have recused himself, because I believe he was a party opponent in this hearing, since he admitted he missed these things.
Right.
And when he testified to that, he thought that Mr. Sledge would be able to explain this but that wasn't in writing. He gave bad advice. Ethically, he should have recused himself and allowed another attorney in. And that attorney would have thrown him under the bus. And maybe that's his reason, pure survivability as an attorney. I don't know. That's pure speculation, but either way, the only way Sledge could have gotten away, and even that would have been a slim chance, because he signed it. He still signed the papers.
And I still think it's worth underscoring, because I think there's a misunderstanding in the chat, but he was facing 35 years of confinement, not just probation, but actual jail time. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and in the plea agreement, they said if we violate it, so here's
You gotta
it, as
serve
much
the
as
full.
35 years, if you
Mhm.
violate it, the district attorney will recommend the defendant serve the maximum sentence by law. So I think
Yeah.
Adam stepped in there, didn't let Love handle this. I think Love would have done this. I think this was Love's words originally. And Adam said, "Court, we want you to decide."
Yeah.
So big break there. Honestly,
Yeah.
it could have been way more than 5.
Yeah.
That's the point, that the individuals who are in disagreement, you guys are emotional, not logical. So we can all understand, but please understand, he's going to serve about 2.6, 2.5. He'll be out in 2027 and be free to be a grandpa. It could have been so much worse.
Yeah, I know. I did have Dave on to make. It depends on how the Georgia law is written.
60%, 60 to 65. Yeah, 60 to 65. Good
Okay,
behavior of making 60.
Oh,
for
you
sure.
have the good behavior statute, even at probation violation.
I mean, you're still going to the penitentiary, so
Yeah. And that, in that case, yeah, he could have gotten the full sentence. I mean,
Red Bunny. She said Glanville would have given him 30. I 100% believe that. I believe Glanville, because Glanville did it to Greer, to Wrongful.
Oh, he would have convicted all of them for. He would have done that from the bench. I mean, yeah. And I vividly recall myself back in February calling out from the rooftop from an audience of 40 people in my streams back in those days. Judge Glanville is not suited for this trial. He made so egregious mistakes, even at the beginning of this trial, even pre-trial. But it took.
Open this statement, Miss Love. You revisited that yet?
No, you did recently, somewhat recently.
Yeah, I only revisited the thing that I claim. If I made that argument as the whitest person on the planet, quoting the Jungle Book, in a trial against black defendants, there would have been marches against me. I would have been cancelled, homeless, and jobless within the end of days. Within the end of that day, you might have been
jumped in the courtroom.
Yeah. And she quotes, but I didn't get to the slide thing, but I did cover it at the time, and oh God.
Yeah, the burden shifting just was insane to me. Yeah. If y'all don't get what the attorney for the state is not supposed to say, they will not come up with evidence that will prove that they did not do it. That's not how it goes. It's we have the burden of proof, not you guys have the burden of proving you didn't do it. That's that's essentially burden shifting, and that's exactly what she did. It was supposed to be over right then and there.
Ashley Jones question: Could Sledge have an appeal on effective assistance of counsel? Yes, if he can afford a new lawyer. And my guess is he can't. Now, if there is an attorney out there who wants to take his case pro bono, please do. But other than that, I don't see, because he did still got off, as Seti says, 2.5, 2.7 years and then he's out again on probation for the more or less probably for the remainder of his life. But he still can get to see his grandkids grow up. Grandkids at 45? Yeah. Oh,
You got to come to the hood. You got to come to the hood. If my son mess up, I'll be a grandpa in my 30s. So yeah.
Yeah. My high school girlfriend, she got pregnant by the guy after me at age 17. Her son at age 18 got his first kid. So she became a grandma at 35.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
And Wim, congratulations. First of all, members for 15 months. That's an entire elephant pregnancy. Says wife and I will be married 22 years this weekend. Congratulations.
Oof.
Congratulations.
And congrats to Wim, but 4 elephants.
Yeah, that was just some random facts that you probably shouldn't know.
Yeah, 50% of my brain consists of worthless information. Yeah.
How much drinking trivia do you do at your local pub? Because that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, we gotta put you on the trivia team next time you're back in the States.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, trivia and drinking. I mean, I'm good at both. At the same time, I don't know. I don't. It's like my dad has this joke that he has been doing for the last 50 years, that he's really, really good in fast calculation. And so we ask him, okay, was it 722 times 50? And he says 1002. And we say, that's wrong. Yeah, but it was fast. It's so stupid.
I get it.
He said it's great at fast calculation. It doesn't say it's great at getting it right. Sorry. Oh wow. Now I missed out on your reaction on the Fani Willis letter.
That's because it's gonna come out on Sunday. I got a couple of laws I want to look at because I'm about to. I have an idea, but they fear Ashley Merchant. It's beyond anything I've seen before, because remember they have their hearing for Steele in December. So Ashley Merchant, if I'm anybody else that's watching this stuff that doesn't have an affinity towards people who like bullying bullies, I would just be like, all right, just another thing. No. When Whitaker sat up there and called the wrong person Miss Merchant, and she knows that Merchant got rid of a judge in Cobb County a couple of years back, she knows.
Yeah.
She knows you can't play with that woman. You can't. You don't mess with lawyers who are married to lawyers anyways, but she was able to pull off something people dream of pulling off. So the judge eventually got reinstated, but for sure got kicked in the butt for about 3 months. So who don't know it, basically she was able to prove that the state and the court was in cahoots. That's as succinct as I can put it. I'll dig deeper into it, but yeah, it's about time. But I'm gonna be fair. I think Duke should take that plea deal that gives him full immunity. At this point in the game, with what just happened, I got to go back and look at the list and see the other YSL members. So, Kat, if you want to take that idea and make a video of it, I'll give you full credit for it.
No, listen, I have to do so much work for other stuff, so don't even suggest things to me right now.
If you want to do the leg work, I'll meet you at the mountain.
One task out the other. Oh man.
I wish I had more time to get into more of that stuff, because my focus is more on focus. When I have the time, I dig up cases surrounding Adrian Latrell Love. And oh boy, she has more or less from the instance she set foot in the district attorney's office 17, 18 years ago, she has been framing people, in my opinion. There are so many cases with sadly bad defense attorneys who didn't know how to object, where she more reversed the burden of proof, used their silence against them. I mean, we know about the Shane Kendall case from 2017, 2018, 2019. We know about the 2012 case with Mr.
Like Calvin Bradley or Bailey or
Bradley,
something, right?
yeah, Calvin Bradley.
Your
where
video on
she-
that was great.
Yeah, where she actually argued in front of the jury that his silence was a token of guilt, was a sign
And
of
she's
guilt.
tried to do that like 4 times in this trial.
Yeah.
Can you send that to me? I gotta watch that.
I'll find the link. I'll
Mm.
put it in the. I'll put it in the chat, but I'll also send it to you on Twitter.
Yeah, just inbox to me. That's
It was good. I'm
I'll
gonna watch
Yeah.
it again later.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
made headlines at the time, and I remember that was one of the reasons why people begged Fani Willis to not keep Adrian Love under employment, because she's bad news. Here's the thing: she's been doing that for almost 20 years now, and she's still practicing law. I don't.
Well, Fani isn't any better. Fani used a disgraced. I'll send you the files, by the way, if you want. She used a disgraced freaking ballistics expert who had been fired, who lied about a gun being used that was not used, and got a man a life sentence. They literally have a councilman right now. I forget what her name is. Councilwoman, pardon me. I forget what her name is. That's pointing this stuff out.
Oh, I need to get in contact with that
are-
councilwoman.
Are
Because
you talking about Cornelius Muckle? Is that the name?
No, it's golly. If you want, I can send it to you too. Just let me know. Just inbox me your email. Hold on real quick.
Now you can just Google Calvin Bradley, because he was sent to. The case is a meth head had an argument with her boyfriend, took off in her car and started mowing people down. Mr. Bradley, who was a security officer at the time, took out his gun, fired towards the car, and she ended up dead. That is justifiable self-defense. That's justifiable. And she still got a conviction out of it due to his attorney being absolute horseshit. He spent 5 years in prison. And it was Mr. Fleischman, who we know from Twitter, who took the case and got it over. He got him a new trial on appeal, and that judge on that retrial said, this isn't even a crime, and just let him go. But it took 5 years of him in prison. 5 years. So when I say, I keep telling people to be cautious, because there are still hopes on appeal on this case, the YSL case. It will take years, if not a decade, before this is up on appeals. So, meanwhile, they'll be in prison if they are convicted.
You guys want to read a quick what I was talking about with the Muckle, with Cornelius Muckle? It's short, but there's layers to it that I think you guys will be like. And someone in the chat had recommended the story. Like the news just came together yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is a short summary of it. But Fulton DA's office drops charges against man accused of couple's murder. Now there's layers here. This is going to sound very familiar with how long this took and all the issues within and out. So 6 years after the gruesome murder of Harry Hubbard and his wife, Deborah, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office said they do not have the needed evidence to try and convict their accused killer, Cornelius Muckle. However,
Imagine how much horse shit the rest of the case was. If they,
well,
this...
wait.
Okay.
We'll wait for it. Attorneys say problems with the initial investigation accusing the wrong man may have made the prosecution of Muckle different. Muckle was not the first person arrested in connection with the crime. Around 4 a.m. on July 3rd, 2018, firefighters rushed to Northwest Atlanta to find a home on fire and bodies inside. Firefighters found the remains of Deborah and Harry Hubbard, who were likely strangled shortly before the fire began. Months later, police arrested Deborah's oldest son, Sylvester, for the murder. Sylvester was known for seeing his mom almost daily and saw them before leaving at 9 p.m. that night. According to court paperwork, the detective wrote in his affidavit to get an arrest warrant for Sylvester that Sylvester acted suspiciously after the fire and had bought alcohol and mothballs shortly before the fire, which I guess they're saying could be you light it on fire.
Yeah, Molotov. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. However, judges during an appeal said the detective omitted facts that would have prevented Sylvester from ever being thrown in jail. So he probably had some type of alibi. The appeals judges said the affidavit used as the basis of Sylvester's arrest warrant left out important facts of the timeline. It did not mention that Harry Hubbard's niece told police that she talked with Harry at 9:30 p.m. and that the man seemed okay. Video and cell phone data also supported Sylvester's alibi, showing he never returned to the residence after leaving around 9 p.m. So this guy couldn't have been the guy. That information was not provided to the judge, who signed off on the arrest warrant according to court paperwork, even though they had it. They shoehorned everything to try and point the finger at someone they knew did not do it. Zach Greenemeyer, one of Sylvester's attorneys, said. After spending more than a year in jail, Sylvester was released. In September, so just now, the Atlanta City Council agreed to pay a $1.5 million settlement to Sylvester for wrongful arrest. In 2021, an investigation by the Fulton County DA's office found cell phone data placing Cornelius Muckle at the scene around 3 a.m. Muckle also allegedly pawned items owned by the Hubbards 2 days after their deaths. However, the Fulton County DA says they decided not to pursue a court case this month because the Fulton County District Attorney's Office is committed to bringing indictments to trial only when there is sufficient evidence to prove charges beyond a reasonable doubt. The evidence did not meet that standard in this case, and adhering to the fundamental principle that the state bears the burden of proof and every indicted person is presumed innocent until proven guilty, the office made the decision to not prosecute Mr. Muckle. They didn't get the answer right the first time, and now it seems they're never going to get an answer about what happened in the case. Former DeKalb County DA Robert James said the age of the case, along with issues in the initial investigation, likely complicated a potential prosecution. Because they have an old case, I'm certain some things have gone stale, and then they have a detective that you can't really trust what he says. So, of that, think of how many parallels and layers. They have the wrong guy, they know he couldn't have been the one that did it, they leave that out when they apply for an arrest warrant, try to charge him anyway, only really seem to care when it comes to them trying to prosecute the second person, and now they're so scared by the settlement that they're like, oh, suddenly we actually don't think we have enough evidence to prosecute this other guy we've already arrested and had in custody for this. There's just so much here, and we can't trust our investigator. So who was that investigator?
Yeah.
Just a lot of mess. So if you guys want to read that, I'll drop it in the chat. Just a mess.
Now I got a question here from that girl Mia. Are there any risk in asking for a directed verdict? There are no risks in asking for it. I don't see it happening in this case, because you need to find at least a scintilla of evidence that can be handed over to the jury. And directed verdicts are extremely rare. Extremely rare. Most attorneys goes through their entire careers. Most criminal attorneys goes through their entire careers without getting a directed verdict. I covered a trial last year that ended with a directed verdict, which was really, really apparent. It was the I have to go back and check here. Which was it? Yeah, the missing sister murder trial. Arizona versus Michael Turney. And it was, for me, obvious. Well, I always say it's obvious, but in that case, there really was absolutely zero evidence of the dad ending the life of the daughter, who, in my opinion, ran away, spent time with her aunt, and then disappeared into the underworld of, I believe she ran off to Florida, if I remember correctly. And the cops never even bothered to search the aunt's house at the time of her disappearance. But yeah, that's the only one. And most US-based attorneys agrees with me. It's so rare, but they still has to ask for it. And North Media, wasn't he just in church with Woody? Yeah, that wasn't a great idea to get a photo up with Woody, a convicted felon, which was in breach of his plea, of his probation.
No, it wasn't just that. He did a freaking video wearing Moontunk's merchandise that said, "I'm not your child." Like, I really want to reveal a lot more stuff, but I can't. But I'm telling you guys, y'all don't know what you don't know. And I'm just gonna say it could have been worse, is all I'm trying to relay to y'all. That's all I'm really trying to get y'all to understand. It could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Y'all really have no freaking idea. Like, this crap could have been way worse. There are certain things that I know that the state 100% knows that Moontuk did that was in violation of his plea agreement. So they took it easy on him, even though I can 100% guarantee we all think Miss Love is an evil person. So she more than likely wanted more than what the heck that they gave her. Gave him, pardon me. So I get y'all being upset. Like I said, it's all right that everybody is, invested enough to feel bad for him. I feel sad for him. Sad is mad because he can't be a YSL member. Okay. Thank you. I don't want to be sitting on a RICO and wasting years of my life on a BS case. I'm very upset. You're all right. I would love to throw away my companies and my 5 figures a month that I make on YouTube to be a YSL member. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I think you could just post like YSL on social media, right? I don't really think that there's like isn't there like no burden? You got to pay $25.
I ain't got that right now. Yeah, that was crazy. I when he said that, I just was like, you probably should have left that one out. What did y'all think about Sprinkle today, though?
I haven't watched today, so I'm doing my recap tomorrow. But go ahead and talk. I think there's so much each and every day of this damn trial. Each and every day. And we all bring in our different perspectives, which I think is great. So you all can watch all of us. I would love to have the audience Mr. Sedi Nash has and his revenue.
No, you don't.
Okay, the revenue, not the audience. The revenue.
Yeah.
Now you have done this for a lot longer than I have, so it's no wonder you have a larger audience and everything. I've been doing this for less than 2 years, and sadly, I started covering this case in May of last year, so a year and a half of my almost 2 year YouTube is this trial. Oh God.
No, listen. It's beautiful in a sense of this messed up stuff. I wouldn't say Schadenfreude exactly, but I can say he's a no, I wouldn't even say Deus Ex Machina for the future of people signing RICO plea deals, but it seems as though Moontuk is going to be an example of what not to do, and how Miss
Yeah.
Love kept on shouting out her mouth these lyrics. Take that S to mother effing trial. It's so prophetic now, because if we look at it now, nobody should have signed a freaking plea deal.
Oh hell no. I mean, and that speaks to the difference in attorneys. Ashley Merchant signed her plea deal with her client before Munktungs, and she still saw this coming. She signed that plea deal was December 16th, if I remember correctly, and Munktungs was December 20. It was close to New Year's, if I remember correctly.
It was like after Christmas, between New Year's, like the 28th
Yeah.
or something.
And Ashley Merchant signed her with her client before that. And that
He
speaks to the
doesn't admit
difference in
YSL
loyalty.
is a gang either.
Yeah, he only agreed to gang activity, not to what gang.
Well,
Nah,
and
roll the
they're not
60s.
supposed to question him.
Oh, 60, yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
not
he
that he
rolled a
doesn't have
60.
to agree. They're not even supposed to try to question him on that subject matter of
Yeah.
YSL potentially being a gang.
Mm.
And I just feel like they're going to try anyway. They're going to slip one of those accidental oopsie questions in.
Yeah. And arguably, if they do, then Ashley Merchant can argue a breach of plea agreement and set him free.
So I'll be honest, Kat, what did you think of Sprinkle?
I mean, the biggest thing that like stands out to me about that is how Steele said, okay, this guy likes to talk and he likes to explain how good of a job he does. So I'm just going to use that to my advantage. And the way Steele was steering his questions, it was like, tell us how much you did to make sure to verify this thing that actually makes the defense really good. And Sprinkle was like, I'm here, I'm ready for it. So I really enjoyed that. I think he talks a lot, but I mean, I thought he'd be on the stand a little longer, so I'm relieved he wasn't. So I didn't think it was as bad as I thought it would be.
Oh. Doug Weinstein's cross-examination.
Like 2 minutes long.
2 minutes long. And the way he used the demonstrative, it was so theatrical. I don't see Mr. Kendrick's phone here. No.
Because he freaking missed it the last time. That's what his butt get. He freaking missed it the last time. And when he brought it up, I'm like, damn, if he could just do some type of replay and then say, well, do you see it anywhere? Or am I wrong? Oh, that would have, oh my God, that would have set me off.
Oh.
But I'm biased. I will admit I'm biased towards Adams and Weinstein. So yeah, I'll be honest. Like I have more an affinity
towards it in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had a Rushmore, because I wasn't really appreciative of Steele, but in the last 2 months, I understand it a lot more. That's why I gave him the chef part, because you're not a good chef if you make it fast. You're a good chef if you make it great, no matter how long it takes. The souffle rise or it won't, kind of thing. And today just more so proved it. When Sprinkle basically said, and I wish we could have heard it. Yeah, I don't see why Young Thug has even had anything to do with Donovan Thomas being killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that interview, the interview, he was asking like, oh, I didn't know that he was in pictures with all these people he was supposed to be beefing with.
Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh my goodness.
And if like that means that stuff was hidden, nobody was looking at it, Gaither wasn't looking at it, but it must have been there because it seems like he stumbled upon it at some point in time. So to me, it seems like it was withheld from Sprinkle. Whatever file existed that got to Sprinkle to look at, it seems like Sprinkle came across that on his own when he was scrolling social media, which means Gaither never went back there, decided to screenshot those things. But I'm sure she looked. Why wouldn't you look at December 2014? So to me, these detectives that were initially looking chose to just put the blinders on and not pull that in. And I think it's extremely powerful for Sprinkle to say that, Because Sprinkle's going to tell you every single thing he knows proudly. And if he doesn't know it, it either
Yeah.
wasn't turned over to him, or if he had to find it on his own, that means the other detectives.
Yeah. That is when they can use his self-bolstering against him. Because he loves hearing about his own excellence.
And that's why I thoroughly appreciate it still more today than ever, because I got the grand picture. Because I'm one of the individuals who believes that you talking bulletin points, that'll get the point across, because we're in a very long freaking trial. And if you know that people are writing, more people like to put dot, write a sentence, dot, write a sentence, dot, write a sentence for highlights.
Yeah. And I so appreciate the mix of type of attorneys, defense attorneys, because, for instance, Bruce Harvey, on the point all the time. He pulls no punches. If it's bad, he's going to tell you. Then you have Mr. Steele, who can set up things through the state's witnesses, several, just to make a point later on. So I believe that will increase, because he's been setting up this entire time, because he knows what's coming next. So at the end, because the prosecution, for instance, the videos from yesterday, extremely impactful. Now, there are people who argue it was friendly fire. I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't see it. The friendly, I just don't. I could be wrong, but I just don't. But the closer to the end of the state's case, I believe, the more of these really impactful things will occur. But I also believe that Mr. Steele has set things up all along the way to counter it. And we saw some excellence, the last couple of weeks, the last month, how he just steps up. So I think we will see more of that. And then Doug is so likable.
Oh, did you see the shot that Shark took at him on Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, they're funny.
Oh, they are doing that back and forth on Twitter against each other. Oh, they're having so much fun on Twitter, those two.
Yeah, when he threw him under the bus and the freaking, he was like, "I'm not gonna try to be long-winded like Matt Sharp." I said, "Oh, you better get his ass back." Hell nah.
Didn't he even do it in court out of the juries?
Nah,
when he forgot to put his microphone on.
Yeah, he said, "I don't want to pull a Max Shart."
Yeah. But you know what's funny that I think all of us can appreciate about what the hell, Whitaker over Glanville, when she basically admonished Love, she looked to make sure that the jury was out of sight, out of mind before she went off. And she did that again this week with something she had did. I think it was with Dennis, and she made sure. So it's stuff like, huh?
With Hilton for Dennis?
I believe so, yeah. Somebody
I have to similar lately.
Well, and the muck of things you tend to reflect, right? But yeah, either here or there. But yeah, no, I honestly think that study that is nothing. You're just now new here then, because Glanville went off a couple of times on the defense while the jury was there.
Yeah. Now I think people, I mean, we have increased our audience severely since the Glanville situation. People forget he was that bad all the time. Most people haven't seen the worst of Judge Glanville because they only came in after the fact. They seen the highlights. Now, both me and Kat has done rewinds of situations and stuff, but I've been, even during Daubert hearings, he was horrible. Even during jury selection, he made mistakes. He has not been suited for this trial since he got the case. And I've been screaming from the rooftops about it until more or less for, as I said, for an audience of 40. And then the Glanville situation happened. And I'm so happy that loads of the huge channels started to pick it up. Because all of a sudden, yeah, I'm happy that finally people listened. That Josh Glanville simply wasn't suited for this trial at all. And people still don't know he actually has an emotional support dog because of
Yeah.
PTSD.
And I think
And
the state's not suitable for prosecuting this either.
No.
I mean, there was a significant difference even in some of the pretrial hearings when it was still Geary and Lisa R.
Mm.
Like they were able to concede and say, all right, look, if they're not arguing that point, we're not going to argue that point back and forth for the next 3 hours of wasted time.
Mm. Yeah. And the state's case, I mean, they have tried to throw stuff at the wall for so long. The jail guard gang expert that they tried to get in, who was so horrible. How do you determine who is in a gang or not? I asked them. That was the entirety of what he did. He asked them what gang they were affiliated with. That's it. And that the prosecution wanted as an expert. Didn't succeed. And my absolute favorite, the pinch and zoom guy. Who the prosecution wanted
That was
in.
the guy with the bow tie, right?
Yeah. Who the
Like
prosecution.
the doofy bow tie.
Yeah. The
And
prosecution.
he was insulted.
Yeah. They wanted him in as a forensic video analyst. And then during the Daubert hearing, it was revealed that all he did was he received a video from an investigator or from a prosecutor with a timestamp. We want this enhanced. So he did play it up to that point. He paused, took a screenshot, pinched and zoomed. That's it.
You know what's funny is that snake going through the bird skull was actually the YSL bird. It was nothing against like YFN.
Mhm.
So the way in which they've been doing all of this crap, it's not even rookie at this point. It's more so negligence and arrogance, because you're not even going against yourself to say this is strong enough. Ultimately, I think in a couple of months, it's just gonna get. I don't see it getting dismissed, but I definitely can see what's the freaking with prejudice? Mistrial with prejudice. I don't see this thing finishing anymore. I used to have faith, but once she said what she said, and I think Whitaker is kind of pissed off at the state right now. Once she said what she said about the state, that justice is supposed to be taken seriously, I 100% believe that was aimed towards Miss Love. I don't think that was aimed at Montauk at all.
Yeah, and I that might, because when she really tore Miss Love a new one with, do you even know how to try a case? Do you make stuff up as you go along? And all of a sudden, we don't see much of Miss Love. And when Fani Willis wrote her letter of appreciation of Miss Love, I think that even Fani Willis with that letter is one of those ironic "you're fired" letters. Oh, you're doing such a great job. You can do it elsewhere. Type of thing.
No, she kind of gave Amanda Timpson like this, like, I hear you type of comforting talk on that recorded call. When Amanda Timpson was trying to like raise concerns about money being spent inappropriately, and so there's maybe a little bit of that. I took that email kind of seriously. I think she at least where I stand right now, I think she meant that towards love. But she
Mm.
has done that slick of like, no, don't worry, everything's all good. Hold on, we're just gonna like demote you by pushing you over into a department
Mhm.
until we push you out completely.
Yeah, and also as the chat points out, she has said a lot about the prosecution the last month, and uh, for it, when they suggested they wanted to call Miss Merchant, and she said to them, "Well, it didn't go so well the last time when they had Mr. Wright on the stand," and so she has been giving subtle hints. Now, at one point, I understand the judge. At another point, I wish she didn't, because this means other people who are better than Miss Love are taking over this case. And even though I say that Mr. Adderall, Mr. Abate,
Abate.
yeah, Abate,
Yeah.
a bad tie. He, in my opinion, because I've seen him in other situations, and I know he was involved in the Shane Kendall case. So for me, he has a person with arrogance and a slappable face. The jury has never seen him before, and to them, he might be, oh, thank you, somebody competent. It might be a bad thing for the defense that Miss Love is being brought out of it. Because with Miss Love, you know she will react and do very bad things. I don't think Abate, Jesus Christ, Adam.
That'll work.
Yeah, Adam. I can pronounce
That's why I
that.
keep saying Adam, and I feel like people are confused because maybe they think I mean Keith Adams, but
Yeah.
I'm so tired. I don't know what it is about his name. I've
Mm.
pronounced it so many different
Yeah.
ways. I don't think possibilities exist for me to
Yeah.
mispronounce his name anymore, and I
Mhm.
just can't. It's like
Yeah.
not correcting.
Yeah, but Adam is much calmer. He simply doesn't react to stuff. And to a jury, that says confidence. Miss Love screaming at her own witnesses doesn't breathe of competence. So yeah, I think has the damage already been done? Maybe. But we are months away from even the state's case in
forgotten.
chief being done. So
You heard what she said. Can y'all wrap this up before Christmas?
yeah, that was a strong suggestion from her, but I can't see the state being done before February, even if they speed up. Now they are halfway through their case in chief, but now they have to train a new gang expert into testifying identical to Dennis. And yeah, they just brought in a new one, a new gang expert who's frankly easier on the eyes. And yeah, and I mean, we who are outside looking in, we still see the misconduct, and people who watch our streams and videos, they know our interpretations, but the jury don't, allegedly. Maybe. We don't know. We know that they still want to be there for some odd reason. They get chance after chance after chance. Do you want to get out of here? Nope. Okay, that should be a disqualifier in itself. You want to be here? Like, hands in the air for you who can't disregard Dennis' testimony the last day. And people say, I can disregard it. Sure. And then the next one walks in and says, I can interpret lyrics as well. Maybe not by subliminal messaging. And oh God, that was another one of these. If this whitest person on earth had said the words that Detective Dennis said, about brainwashing of black community, oh God, I would have been so cancelled. And
The-
And all
subliminal
in
messaging.
I
the
always
same day
hate the
with
fucking phrases. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
no,
Yeah.
said you go.
No, I just hate those phrases because it's a thing of what you see successful, you try to emulate. Wherever I see success and I can see myself in it, I'm gonna try to emulate that. So this whole brainwash BS is always stupid because, and this is just me being me, the majority of the people that he's even speaking to that look like him are middle class non-felons. They act as though these states in America literally have millions upon millions of people locked up, when at max you're only going to have 100,000. So it's
Well,
one
this
of the
new witness
stupidest
said the
things.
same. This new witness said she grew up in a. She said something to the effect of being grateful, like gratefully, I grew up to the effect of it being middle class and not really having any exposure through personal experience to something that would make her qualified for this position. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watching Boys in the Hood and Colors making him a gang expert, I don't think so. And if I have made that argument in front of a court, Jesus.
Oh, you'd have got laughed at. You would,
Yeah.
you'd have got laughed out of the building.
Yeah, definitely.
It would have been akin of you. It would have been akin of you winning the breakdance contest.
Well, the only thing I'm doing is I would break my leg, I would fall down, and then I would have had a hard time getting up again. That's my type of breakdancing. I mean, oh, frick's sake! I can't believe he was and I don't remember who it was who said it, but how can this be the state of Georgia that somebody can be qualified as an expert by watching movies? I don't get it. And I made a comment right after that. These movies, I mean, I've seen them, and for me it is humanizing people who make bad decisions and do stupid stuff. What he said is, no, you need to keep seeing them as animals. And that's my interpretation, at least, that no, this is brainwashing. And I mean, and maybe it's me being very
sympathetic.
very sympathetic or pro defense, and I still see people as people. I mean, I told this story about the guy I grew up with who started out as petty criminal, and then it just escalated. And I saw him every time he got out of prison, and we had coffee or dinner and just talked. And for every time, his eyes got more and more soulless, and now he's an actual lifer here in Sweden, which is quite hard to get to. And I still have some contact with him, and he last time or the time before, he said, you're the last one who treats me as a human. And because he got convicted of stuff he didn't even do because it was easy, and he just didn't care. Because it's either being in jail or being in prison, and he preferred being in prison. So he got convicted of stuff he didn't even do until he actually did really bad stuff, and then he became a real lifer. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's I have that in all my cynicism. I still can't avoid seeing people as people, and that was offended me with Detective Dennis. His arguments is that, in my interpretation, don't look at criminals as people, look at them as animals. All right. Oh. Mm.
I'm saying I can't really articulate it fully, but when Hilton was trying to make the argument for that fourth video, she wanted to come in through the body cam guy, and it was the apprehension of Christian Eppinger. I thought her explanation was going to be Your Honor, it seems like he's making some excited utterance that might suggest consciousness of guilt by saying, just shoot me. Like, maybe that's something the jury could take to mean, I did this thing that you're trying to arrest me for, and the jury could interpret that as consciousness of guilt. When she came out with the argument of, I want to introduce this to show that the police in Atlanta treat people with respect, that was her argument for wanting to introduce that, to bolster the way the police hunt down the people they want to apprehend in this one time, because a cop just got shot. So in my opinion, you probably want to take this guy to jail, make him be prosecuted. And Hilton wants to introduce this as the one example. I can't really articulate what I find so weird about it, but I was just shocked that that was her argument for wanting to bring that in.
Mm. Let's see here. I see that Mr. Steve Gosney is in the chat, so I'm actually sending him an invite. I know he doesn't have time to watch this trial because he does work. He works. For you who don't know, Stephen Gosney here. Or is that his other account? I don't remember. Steve Gosney is a death penalty certified appellate defense attorney. That's not easy. And he's based out of Florida. Now, he did have a change of scenery, is that he is now doing civil work, but he's still a death penalty certified and can be hired at any point for death penalty appeals in Florida.
Hey, Nick, I gotta hit the snooze button real quick. I got a long night ahead of me, but I wanted to make sure to get in there and rap with you guys. Cat, as always, I appreciate you. I put the video on YouTube on there about Miss Fani Willis kind of setting that guy up. It's not long, but if you need more on it, I can definitely email you what I have.
I'm grateful for all information. I don't know if I get the time to use it, but I will definitely go through it in case I find the time. But either way, I'm going to watch your content as I usually do.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you, and also appreciate you over on X. I actually see you more on my timeline there. You don't really do too many lives on YouTube, right? You do more videos on demand?
Yeah, because I'm not, the setup is terrible, so it's like, nah.
I look for that red dot live to watch people on YouTube, but I've seen so much more on X since I followed you, and love like your short highlights and commentary over there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really try to, I will say, gift more so people the videos I'm going to introduce, and then those who are content creators like yourself and I, sometimes you'll catch stuff that I don't catch, and so I'll use it, and then sometimes hopefully I catch stuff that you don't catch, and then you use it, and then one person scratch the other person's back, kind of thing.
Heck yeah, crowdsourcing.
Yeah, definitely, because I try to tell that to my viewers on occasions, at least. Please, to get another person's view, you need to check different opinions. Even if you agree with all of us, we do come from different situations, educations, backgrounds, and everything, and we have our way of seeing this. And I think it gains everybody to watch all three of us. And yeah.
And the chat, holy moly, the chat with the the recommendations, like incredibly helpful. And
hey,
you guys in the chat are like little detectives.
I'm not a lawyer, but I love her channel as well.
I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah. I'm glad I got the follow on Twitter from her.
Heck yeah. The You've Got Mel is like one of my favorite handles of all time.
Oh my goodness. Well, I appreciate you all, and I think I'll what is it? No. Not this Friday, but next Friday I'll be more free. So definitely, I'll definitely link up with you guys then.
Sounds good. Good to see ya.
Not next Friday, but the Friday after that is is Halloween. I will have
Oh,
a
it's on a Friday
Friday
this year?
panel on November 1st.
Oh, November
Friday
1st.
Halloween Friday panel show. And
Do you want my pumpkins?
can you be more specific?
Hold on, I didn't complete it.
Oh,
I didn't complete it. I only have 2 of them, but I'll add them to your little overlay since I can.
oh, you can. Hey! Oh.
And I had to use that pose from Steel. But they're there now. You can celebrate, get festive.
Now, okay, Kate Aiden, thank you for gifted 5 memberships, getting us to 13. April O'Neill's baby dad is still incorrect.
The way it
Became
makes
a
you
new
laugh
member.
every time when you get to the second syllable.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good one. That's such a good one. Okay. 2 hours 20. What else? What is there anything that we didn't take up of this week that you want to address?
I mean, my brain is. Oh, I think in the Richard Allen, I think it's so interesting.
Oh.
The state is like, holy moly, let's not ignore sketch artists. It doesn't matter that that's what we use to find this guy, or claim that we use it to find this guy. Let's exclude sketch artistry. I mean, a few issues with that trial.
Verna seems heard my response. Yeah, it's Friday. I had a couple of beers. When you said, "Do you want to see my pumpkins?"
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
these ones. You get a Doug and a Brian Steele.
Now, okay, back to Richard Allen. For you who don't know, Richard Allen, his trial has started. The judge doesn't even allow electronics in the courtroom. The reporters has to rely on pen and paper. Audio is released at the end of the week, I believe. And one of the latest decision, because Abby and Libby was killed in 2017. Just days later, they released a sketch of, we need to find information about this guy who we believe is involved in this murder. 2 years later, they submitted another sketch of a substantially younger person. We no longer look for the first person, we are looking for this person. And then a few years later, they arrested Richard Allen on, in my opinion, basically nothing. Now, the judge ruled that these sketches are not allowed in, because the state argued these were never supposed to bear resemblance to the person we suspected, to any suspects, which is provably a lie, because the prosecutor in this case went out and said both these sketches is Richard Allen. So it's provably false. And this judge, her name is Judge Gull, Gull. I call her Judge Bull. Yeah, yeah. If you believe Judge Glanville was bad, Judge Gull is so much worse. It's so much worse. And now she's actively trying to hide things from the public. She banned now 5 persons from being in the courtroom who are members of the media, because she said they violated her terms. One of them, what he did was take pictures of the van with tinted windows with a jury in it. And for that, he was banned. And that was just them driving into to the courthouse. He took a picture of that van, and that was enough for her to ban him from court. It's and what makes it worse is that she's such a hypocrite about this, because when the draft of the new law regarding publicity and trials in Indiana, she was one of the spokespersons for more transparency, and now she does everything she can to hide. Luckily, you have Andrea Burkhardt and Lawyer Lee in that courtroom reporting on it.
Yeah,
Of
love
the-
Andrea Burkhardt, and from what I've seen of Lawyer Lee previously, it's been a while, but liked her content too. So, you know, people you can trust for the way that they process the information and come back and explain it. Because when you have to relay stuff, you add an extra layer of telephone game because we can't hear or watch it ourselves. So it's great that they're doing that, and I think they're great people to be in that role, choosing to be in that role.
Yeah, and as I've seen of local news, they aren't happy about this either. Not the situation. Then they heard the opening statements and they saw the first witness and stuff like that. I don't think anybody anymore in media believes he did it. Or at least his constitutional rights have been violated to the extent there's no way he can get a fair trial. So whatever she tried to do with this hiding and gaslighting and everything, it's going to backfire. But meanwhile, Mr. Allen is in jail. He is
And
reported
it's really
to
taking a toll on his health. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from what Jeffrey Williams is going through, but I think he looks very healthy. I think I'm not saying give him a bond too at this point, holy moly. But Richard Allen was like on the verge, probably already past the verge of losing his mind. And now Judge Gall is trying to prevent the admission of the person that was treating him that could have gone through the symptoms, what he was dealing with when he made these confessions that are factually, according to opening statements during voir dire. They did like a mini opening statement during voir dire with the jury selection. The defense made an argument and said, you're going to end up hearing that he confessed, but he confessed to things that are provably false.
Yeah. He
And
confessed
there's
to
a
shooting them.
psychiatrist-
He confessed to shooting them in the back.
And in different ways. He like changed his story through his confessions, but none of them match the actual wounds.
He has 61 confessions. Apparently, none are the same. And I don't think that's good for the state either. Because if you confess to a crime 61 times, at some point, he's going to say the word knife. By sheer guesswork, he's going to get it right. So I don't think that is... But you never know. Even with the best of cases, it's still a coin flip. You never know. People want to punish someone. And I have an entire playlist full of the Delphi case. Because one of the defense leading theories is this was an Odinist occult sacrifice of sorts. Sadly, I've actually seen the crime scene photos. Yeah, there was a leak of the crime scene photos, and I got it sent to me. And the argument from the defense is their bodies are arranged, the branches are arranged, and the blood on a tree stump a bit away is in the shape of a rune. And I can see it. Sticks don't fall that way by accident. in those shapes that they are over those girls.
Yeah, and the girls wouldn't be able to do that if it was like on them in any way and they were already gone. So it couldn't have been the girls playing around and coincidentally.
And they are butchered, one more severe than the other. And they claim that Mr. Allen did this and the concealment and everything according to the prosecution's timeline, when he was last seen, they were last seen, and what the prosecution claim he was seen again. We are talking about maybe 15 minutes tops when everything occurred. And for me, that's just not happening. And regarding again his confessions, when Mr. Allen was jailed, he was 5'4" and 200 pound plus. In a matter of months, he was 120 pounds, forcefully fed psychopharmaca, antipsychotic drugs, eating his own feces, getting screamed. He was confined within a prison amongst the worst of the worst. He had he was in isolation. That is when he made these confessions. Now, after he got his restrictions lifted, he's gone up to a whopping 147 pounds. But he lost 100 pounds in 3 months in prison.
And I kind of have this like fear, like talking about we don't know what a jury, how they could perceive things. People think of things differently.
Yeah.
I have a fear, and I fully believe that being in custody, being falsely accused, I think that can push someone all the way from completely normal, never been anything less than normal your entire life, to where Richard Allen was when he was going through these things, eating his own feces. But I have a fear that there could be jury members that say, well, I can't imagine ever eating my own feces. So if he got there, he was probably crazy enough at some point. Like, so I feel like there's a catch-22 for the defense, maybe to bring in someone to evaluate the conditions, his mindset when he was giving these confessions, where the jurors might say, I'd never get there and I don't understand how someone else could unless they were crazy enough. And if he's crazy, he could just be guilty. He probably did it. So I think the defense has a weird catch-22 there.
Yeah. And I mean, I was taught in the military, I was taught interrogation methods. And I made the challenge to Judge Gall that give me a weekend. And I can make her say that this is a blue pen. All I need is a weekend. And she will swear on her children's grave that this is a blue pen. And Mr. Allen spent over a year in isolation. So yeah, but then again, most people don't have that training and knowledge. These are most people are bus stop people. More or less, a jury is people you could go out on the street to the nearest bus stop, find 12 people and say, you are jurors.
It sounds like an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Congratulations, you're now sequestered. No, but I have worked. I have
if you come to the verdict that's factually incorrect, we know the actual truth about this case, but if you deliberate incorrectly, like a twisted legal justice saw, if you deliberate incorrectly and get the verdict wrong from what we factually know and aren't going to tell you is the reality, you will face.
Oh, sorry. So yeah,
that'd be an interesting movie plot.
Yeah, so if you guys in the audience have the time, go check out Andrea Burkhart and Lawyer Lee, who both, none of them are from Indiana. They took a month out of their lives just to travel there, to be in the courtroom to see this happen, because they are worried about the violations of Mr. Allen's due process rights. And I mean, both of them are practicing attorneys. They do the YouTube on the side. They are practicing attorneys, and they took a month off just to visit that courtroom. So yeah.
And understand, unlike us being able to watch the trial live while it's happening, they have to sit there. They can't be on their devices communicating stuff about this trial as it's happening. They sit there all day, and then I don't know about Lawyer Lee doing her recaps for this, but I know Andrea's doing an additional 3-4 hours to relay everything that happened while she took notes in courtroom. So her court day, she's there from, let's say, 8 to 5. I don't know the exact time frame. Then streaming to recap everything she couldn't stream concurrently.
Yeah, and apparently Judge Gull, her starting times are different. One of the days, she says she's going 9 to 6, but they might end sooner or later depending on the witness. On day 2, she started at 8 a.m. because the jury was already there. She doesn't care about if people are in the courtroom, if the audience are in the courtroom. As long as the lawyers are there and the jury is there, she's starting.
Yeah, I think she's an interesting judge. I think she has a lot of gall.
Yeah, I have words, and I've said them.
And there was one other thing, and I caught this through Potentially Criminal Sean on the Sarah Boone trial. I thought it was interesting, and Sean says that maybe it seems to be maybe a thing in Florida, and I don't know if Steve's still in the chat, but the state was trying to balance, the defense wants to levy a battered spouse syndrome defense. They have expert witnesses they want to call, but they're not quite sure yet if that's going to be admissible. And laying some of the foundation to make that stuff come in would mean Sarah needs to take the stand first.
Yeah.
And the defense isn't exactly sure if they want to call Sarah first. And especially if it'd have to be narrative testimony, there's a problem. So the state was asking, in opening statements, they said, well, if this is the case, we're going to imply in our opening statements that if they don't end up calling this witness, the jury can draw an inference from it, which is a little bit of a burden
shifting
issue.
there. Yeah.
But somehow, like watching it with Potentially Criminal Sean, and I didn't quite grasp it, it seems like through that scenario that actually might be okay to play out that way in Florida.
Yeah. It is the battered wife syndrome, and if they are going with it, then the state has to start with disproving the battered wife syndrome defense, which is a self-defense, and that way the prosecution has to disprove it to then prove the actual crime. So yes, if they argue it and she doesn't take the stand, then they can use that against her. Because the one person who can testify to her being a battered wife, yes, with the help of experts, but it's her.
Because she needs the state of mind. I was the one that was in fear that he could snap at any moment, or
exactly.
Like, how reasonable was it that if there wasn't something that would create a normal self-defense, justifiable use of force self-defense in that moment where he's in the suitcase, then I need to, there has to be some reason that it would be reasonable for me to think it could change at any moment.
Yeah. For instance, if you remember the Depp v. Heard trial, now, psychologists could testify about Amber Heard because Amber Heard testified, interestingly, and then her psychologist tried to bolster it. And they couldn't with Mr. Depp because he wouldn't submit to that psych eval. So
he didn't claim emotional damage. Like, she claimed PTSD against him. So now that gave you the IME, the court ordered evaluation. So that was a stupid trap bubble that Amber bolstered her. Amber bolstered her afflictions to her own demise.
Yeah. And that is roughly the same what is happening with the battered wife syndrome. Since it's a self-defense case, it means that she is offering the evidence of battered wife syndrome, which means she herself and her decisions can be addressed by the prosecution, as in, well, she argued it, so why is she silent? That is my interpretation, at least, on why they can actually do that burden shifting, because the defense in itself allows it.
Right. I think there's something like the elements that would be behind putting that defense forth. The defendant has that like within the trial miniature burden of at least meeting the basic elements of introducing a battered spouse syndrome defense. So it's not really like the burden to prove that they're innocent. It's just the burden of showing at least a basic showing that enough of this could have been present. There was a reasonableness that he could change, or he might be dangerous at any given moment. And in that moment, she felt like this was a possibility. That was her state of mind. A pattern, a reason to think that, to have that state of mind.
Yeah. Now, I didn't see the everything getting going up to that, but I did hear, because the defense didn't really want to give that what was the overt act in that case that set her off. And eventually they said, well, he stuck his hand out of the, yeah, but here's the thing, it was his finger out trying to open the suitcase, trying to reach.
I don't really think any jury will believe it's reasonable that she had a reasonable fear that he was going to get out and beat her when he's barely able to breathe and using the last strength with his finger trying to get the zipper of the suitcase open to get out.
Yeah. But here's one thing. He does have there is she did report him to the police. They had a fight, there was violence, they went down to the police station. She beat him up, but he was charged.
That sounds typical.
Yeah. And that guy was 5 feet to 100 pounds soaking wet. And
I think with battered spouse, they get to bring in bad character evidence in his past too. So I think that's really like the legal the legal strategy behind the defense, one of the defense's reasons for wanting to introduce this. Because I think that's Courtney Clenny just announced the same intent in her trial, and I think she wants to try to introduce bad character evidence against Christian Obumseli. So Florida case again.
Yeah. Dehydrated Slime says, I'm behind, but regarding Gold, she has done plenty shady things. One that stands out to me is never allowing cameras in the courtroom except for one time. The time she planned to kick the lawyers. Yeah, and that went all the way up to the Indiana Supreme Court, who reinstated Mr. Allen's lawyers. So this is already, so her conduct has already been up in Indiana Supreme Court, and she lost very hard on that issue. And I mean, if that case, if Mr. Allen is convicted, has, in my opinion, a much higher chance of winning on appeal than most others. Because Judge Gull has made such absolutely horrifyingly bad decisions. And, one thing we found out during opening statements, Libby, one of the victims, had a hair in, and apparently it was entwined in her hand. It didn't just lay there. It was entwined with her fingers. And it's not Mr. Allen's. Now, the prosecution argues it might have been a crime scene investigator or officer. Yeah, but how did it then get entwined? And why haven't they DNA tested it?
Then why did they say that they had DNA evidence?
Yeah, but they did have DNA evidence. Yeah, I don't know, but there is zero DNA evidence against Mr. Allen. Zero fingerprints. In my opinion, they can't even be sure if that their timeline is correct, since there
Jingle's
was
taking a nice
movement of
stretch.
there was movement of one of the victims' phones 12 hours later. We don't know, and there is a suspicion that they were moved to this place, to the place they were found. They weren't killed there; they were moved there, and her phone shows movement
Yeah,
when
that's what's
Mr.
interesting
Allen
to
has
me.
a clear alibi.
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting to see how this proceeds forward. And I think it's really rough because I think it's very genuine, the people that are embroiled against Richard Allen, because they just feel like these girls' lives were taken from them. And they, from what the coverage that they saw, the information they got in the very beginning, they just concluded it was him. And I hate that that's the way that works, but I do believe most people that are inflamed against Richard Allen, before he's actually had his chance to have a trial, just mean well for the two girls. But when you keep the cameras out of the courtroom, you don't give people the opportunity to correct the initial impression they have, even if they would change it if they were able to access this information. And I have such a huge problem with that. I don't have a problem with someone passionately seeing something differently based on what they know. But when someone's barred from being able to come across the new information, that could keep them just as passionate, but, you know, at least in a correct and accurate, well-informed direction. I really hate the denial of access to trials. And I don't think transcripts are enough. I think we lose a lot by not having body language. Again, going back to the Amber Heard trial, imagine if you couldn't see facial expression happen before answer was given. It just didn't match with Amber Heard on the stand. Or even with words. And Andrea Burkhart talked about this. She's so insightful. You know, you have a judge that knows that the appeals court looks at a text transcript. They look at the record. They don't get to hear or watch the trial. So judges, we know common sense. You could read something and you don't know the tone of how text is supposed to be read. But judges, knowing how appeals courts work, they can curate their tone of voice and the words that they say, knowing how it will be limited in the record for the appeals court. And she said she gets this impression from Gull that she makes the tone towards the defense, but uses words that look okay. Like, all right, first, all right is very different. And we make fun of Paige Whitaker's tone. But imagine if her words, the times that we're commenting on her laugh or giggle or the tone, you remove all that and you just have her words. The words are usually something like yes or no or okay. You lose all that at the appeals level.
Now, there are some states that actually transcribes certain expressions like laughter. But then again, you don't know if it's a nervous laughter or if it is, oh, why is he laughing at the victim or something like that. So, yeah, it is really, I'm so sorry. This beer is very carbonated. Carbonized? Carbonated, thank you.
Carbonized sounds more intense.
Yeah, I remember Carbonized is a black metal band I followed late 80s, early 90s. Nobody knows about them.
I'm like bad with references anyway, so I am not the person. I listen to a ton of music and then never know the artist's name.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can show this. Yeah. This is one of their albums. So, yeah. Welcome to the 1989-1991. Yeah. They were very amateurish.
Hold on, are there skulls in the corner? Are they criminal?
Yeah. Those are skulls in the corner.
Is that a rented car?
Hold on, here is another one of their.
Red.
No, that's not carbonized. Sorry, that is.
Oh, this is their hybrid gang subset.
Yeah. That is not them. That is not them. Sorry. Yeah, their band logo is so amazing. It's no, never mind. They are screaming into yeah. It's very very low budget, very very low
As
budget.
it should be.
No, Casper, it's not death metal music. It's black metal music, and it's very loud and very bad audio. But they are having fun. Okay. We are almost 3 hours in. We've been doing good today, I think. We've gone through a lot, and I'm going to do the recap of today. Today's tomorrow. Now, on occasions, I bring up the wheel of wheel of regrets, and you have been very, very generous, folks, but not to that level. So, unless
Maybe
there
tomorrow.
is, yeah, tomorrow, yeah. Oh, how about tomorrow?
Wheel of Regrets recap.
Wheel of Regrets recap. Oh, which I definitely will be demonetized by YouTube for, because at a certain level, I don't care anymore. And I'm going to restream it on Cat's channel. No.
You can. They'll show up and be like, white person, it works.
White person, cap, yep.
Hooray the hat! Mr. Jingles, just give like a cat cam, but it's just Mr. Jingles instead of me on the screen.
Yes, Mr. Jingles is sleeping. Oh.
Oh, that was very cute.
Sometimes he makes the
it.
sweetest noises.
Yeah, we heard it. I think, well, at least I heard it. I'm sure the chat did.
He is. I mean, last 6 months he's been really well. First year of my channel, he had this thing where he climbed up the back of my chair. And he did it without prior notice, because all of a sudden all I hear is and the cat
to be the parrot on your shoulder.
Yeah, but no.
Chloe says we're bleached. I mean, pretty much. I don't go on the sun anymore. I get like no sunlight.
We're not white, we're bleached. That's so funny. Hello, Mr. Jingle. All right. Yeah. Unless there's a surge in super chats, gifted memberships, or PayPals, I'm about to close this down. If it is a surge in it, I'm going to bring up the Wheel of Regrets, and if
I'll bring
you
up
have
the pumpkins again.
And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, let me bring it up here. This is the Wheel of Regrets. If we reach a certain level of monetary gains, I will spin the wheel, and then I'm going to regret it.
Oops. At least it was just a test run.
That was a test run. But I don't see a surge. So
Definitely gotta do a Wheel of Regrets recap stream.
Yeah. So tomorrow, because here's the thing about my time and your time is that if I start at 10 a.m. Eastern time, it is 4 p.m. my time and technically allowed for me to have a drink or 7.
I mean,
Yeah.
brunch drinking is a thing.
Yeah, Prosecco. No, here it is hard liquor. I still have these. I haven't tried yet. It is moonshine from Old Smoky. Now I did try the
That's so
original
cute and
one,
tiny.
the White Lightning, and oh god, it was awful.
Oh my god, it's 4 a.m. by you? I see
Yeah,
Casper with
yeah,
the
it's 4
timestamp.
a.m. It's yeah.
Oh.
But everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to try to present and interpret the Fuster clock that is the Young Thug RICO trial. And as I usually say, hug your family. Unless your family is crap, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. Okay? I will see you all back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
In the courtroom, it's a circus. Homie got the lions. Prosecutors crooked, messy and frying. Innocent rappers, the tears like diamonds. Truth gets twisted, just like the Mayans. Panel keeps the real, drop knowledge bombs. Corruption on blast like Vietnam songs. Free the innocent, then commit the crimes. Justice served hot, rhythm and rhymes. Show it survive, justice goes live. Spotlight on the truth, we cut through the lies. Corrupt our run, we see through the skies. For the innocent rappers, we rise.